Communication is defined by the Oxford Dictionary as the activity or process of expressing ideas and feelings or of giving people information. Speech is the fastest method of communication between people and arguably one of the most effective. Nowadays, we communicate mainly through text messages, abbreviations, nearly creating a new language through emojis to exchange messages at a faster rate and more efficiently. But does this loss of verbal and non-verbal expression in speech, this technological advancement of how we communicate, actually strengthen the way we exchange information and express feelings, or lead to further miscommunication? And can future tools of technology, such as brain-computer interaction, smartware, and augmented and virtual reality, really improve communication meaningfully? In order to understand communication fully, we need to go back in time and look at the beginnings. It all started in the pre-mechanical age, ranging from 3000 BC to 1450 AD. Face-to-face interaction is how we always communicated. The use of words defined by actions created the first languages. However, already in the early pre-mechanical age, before books and libraries were introduced, we started writing information down to pass on to future generations in form of simple drawings carved in rocks called petroglyphs, and furthermore introduced the alphabet to communicate through written language. One of the early forms is called Phoenician alphabet. Moving on to the electromechanic age, known as the beginning of telecommunication. It marks one of the most prominent ages for technological communication advancement. After the telegraph was introduced in the early 1800s and Morse code was established by Samuel Morse, Alexander Graham Bell created the most popular form of communication up until the information age, the telephone. Through face-to-face interactions, we get the best of both worlds, established through nonverbal and verbal communication, enabling the possibility to interpret words through emotional association. We are able to easily tell if someone is sad, sarcastic, or angry when talking about a subject based on gestures and facial expressions. And even with phone calls, taking away most of the nonverbal communication, we listen and process information and articulate clearly with emotion in our voice to get our point across. However, in our current state, the information age, we communicate bit-sized, through abbreviations and emojis to be more efficient. But this fast pace leaves more room for miscommunication, as we often don't know how the person perceives the way we text. Maybe thinking there's a lack of emojis or even too many. You don't get a facial or verbal response in text messages, which is up to this day the most popular form of communication for adults under the age of 50. You will probably spend more than 100 days online this year, and a big portion of this is online communication such as WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger. To us, as a project group, increasing communication means creating tools that help promote a more productive understanding of one another. The question is, do all tools do this? In order to get an answer to this question, we need to look at the fourth and current industrial revolution, the Industry 4.0.
Many different stages of industrialization happened over the last 2 centuries. The more recent being the third revolution, focused on electronics, automation, and computing. Now rises a fourth stage of industrialization, dubbed Industry 4.0. This stage is based mainly on cyber-physical systems and big data analytics. One important and essential aspect of Industry 4.0 is the Internet. It evolved over time to provide universal communication. The spread of mobile personal communication and Wi-Fi lower the costs and effort needed to be connected to the Internet. Everything can be connected through the Internet. human to human, machine to machine, human to machine. This is the foundation of Industry 4.0. Industry 4.0 can be an important aspect in the future of communication because it enables the use of technology like wearable devices, augmented reality, and virtual reality, and further normalizes its use. If we also look at big data, the biggest source so far has been online social networks, but now companies can develop smart products that can give feedback about their users and themselves. The analysis of such data can mean the constant innovation of product design because of this seamless communication between people and machines and manufacturers. In case of human-to-human communication, this pervasive approach could help promote a more productive understanding of one another. In a sense, people could understand themselves and others better by having this data seamlessly collected from them. If some of this data could be available to anyone, this could mean that sometimes the task of knowing each other could be cut even shorter and immediately know each other's needs and likes, creating a quicker connection and interaction. Regarding the human-machine communication, your search engine of choice or personal assistant could know exactly what you are looking for and give you the best information. Some of the technologies that could enable this seamless and quick communication, also mentioned previously, are wearable devices, VR and AR. We will look into each one and see how they help communication. According to Adam Terrier, wearable technologies are network devices that collect data, track activities, and customize experiences to users' needs and desires. These technologies are a subset of Internet of Things, which comprises networked smart devices equipped with microchips, sensors, and wireless communication capabilities. He also believes it will have widespread societal influences in the coming years. Terrier also agrees that this technology will eventually operate in the background and be invisible to consumers' lives. Wearable technology has been used for health and personal tracking, but because of this intimate relation with the human body, it can be used as a medium of interpersonal communication. By using haptic signals using body movement, it can evoke awareness of a remotely located person, making it possible to integrate tactile sensation to communicate. One example is a hug over distant jacket, which enables users to give a hug to someone remotely. This shows that wearable technology can be used in a more intimate type of communication and possibly send emotional data over distance. This new way of communicating can help people sustain healthy relationships and increase intimacy. Rosedale believes VR will be as disruptive as most phones were in the future. Instead of having a screen on your hands, it will give you a head-mounted display and hand controllers. The recent and future evolution of internet speeds like 5G means we will be able to use it without any latency and talk to people face-to-face without being able to notice delay. Markowitz and Beileson say that the biggest draw to VR is embodiment. The ability to have a different version of yourself, changing everything from the physical aspects to how you act. This can help in cases of racist stereotypes and negate exclusion. People can change their appearance and sometimes be their true selves, free from any judgment or preconception. This means anyone can socialize and connect without being afraid the other might think, open themselves better, and have meaningful connections. Like VR, augmented reality has the potential for remote communication without facial expression, body movements, and haptics. People will be able to talk to each other almost all the time. With the use of smart glasses, a person can be on a coffee shop and open in a virtual meeting and do their business there. Then we have BCI, which is a technology that enables interaction with a computer using signals of your brain. It can help people, for example, that have disabilities like locked-in syndrome. They can interact with their environment and their friends. BCI can eventually lead to brain-to-brain interface. BBI is the communication of two individual brains using their neural activities, linked and mediated by a computer. This would allow two people to communicate using only their brains. The messages would be interpreted by a computer and translated to another person's brain in signals the brain will understand. All these technologies have the potential to change the way we communicate in a more quick, meaningful, and inclusive way. But all in life has balance, and these new forms of communication can lead to some concerns.
Technology has transformed the way we communicate. Nowadays, it is possible to connect in real time with people from all over the world. It is no doubt that this has made life easier during time, especially during quarantine. But is virtual communication as good and profound as interpersonal communication? Technology has changed communication in different ways. Some of them have negative effects on the life of users. The negative effects of technology in communication can be divided in different topics. We will deepen in dehumanization, distraction, isolation, and privacy. One of the most relevant effects is dehumanization. The Internet allows users to navigate and communicate without having to reveal their personal data. This can lead to people behaving as if they were wearing a mask. Users on the Internet are just a nickname. This can make it hard for people to remember that there is an actual human being behind a comment, which can lead to hostility. According to a Pew Research study, 59% of teenagers in the US feel that they have been cyberbullied during their lifetime. Also, anonymity is a tool for scammers and catfishing. Some people get tricked into theft, extortions, and even fake relationships. Isolation is also a relevant effect of virtual communication. How many times have you seen a group of people all looking at their phones? Online communication replaces face-to-face interaction, often making it more attractive and reachable. This reduces the amount of time people spend building relationships with other people. It sounds paradoxical, but actually, social networks built to create relationships can lead to social isolation. Social networks are a great tool, but can lead to situations where someone has many friends and connections, but few of them are real. This results in feeling of loneliness. According to Slate, the number of adults who describe themselves as lonely has doubled since 1980. Also, a study of Facebook users found that the amount of time people spend in a social network is inversely related to how happy they felt throughout the day, proving that virtual communication has led to an increase in the feeling of isolation of people all over the world. Technology has raised concerns over data protection and privacy. Online communication can be insecure, allowing third parties to read and intercept communications. By this, people can get access to accounts and correspondence. Encryption is a key for cybersecurity, but still, the Internet is very broad, and there are many web pages that don't have the best security protocols. An example of this is Zoom, the app used for virtual meetings and classes online, which caused a scandal because they claimed that they had end-to-end encryption when they didn't. Also, many unwanted people joined meetings. Fortunately, Zoom announced that they will be implementing more thorough security measures. Finally, distraction is also a relevant effect of technology in communication. It is a fact that devices such as telephones and mobiles are a great tool for communication, as they allow people to connect everywhere. While this can be a benefit, it can also be a distraction. Many accidents have been caused by people distracted by their phones. The National Safety Council of the US reported that cell phone use while driving leads to 1.6 million crashes each year. Also, social networks can distract people from more relevant things, such as work studies or forming real relationships. There is no doubt that technology has made communications easier and faster, but still, people should use it wisely, avoiding the negative effect it brings.
The way we communicate with each other relies abundantly on our environment and experience, which are in fact the foundations of our culture. Since we now live in a more digitalized world, the internet and social media are the definition of our technological culture. Nowadays, the digital world has become an extension of our neural network. Therefore, our brains are simultaneously changing. The truth is that we are not merely passive users of the internet and social media, because not only it's changing our neural paths, but we are actually developing an addiction to it. Daniel Levitin, on informatic multitasking and the existence of reward centers in the brain, says that by being stimulated by electric impulses produce neurotransmitters dopamine that create addictive habits. This means that because we are addicted to this new technological world, our brain will change with a severe need for instant gratification, and therefore the way we communicate with each other will also suffer severe changes. This happens mainly because of the emotion charges attached to the experiences in the digital world. Multiple dimensions of experiences are actually the foundations in the process of our collective and psychological individualization. By changing the associations we make with things, it will automatically change the way we experience them and therefore the way we communicate them. The language and the mind serve as amplifiers of the energies that outcome from the interaction between the environment and the human. And since our lives are changing from the physical to the digital, our minds will readapt to this new reality. The problem behind digital big data is that it plays with emotions in order to influence actions. Byung-Chul Han says that it's through emotions that we can get to the profundities of the quantified self. So, the emotion represents an efficient way to establish control over a person, and if we become strangers to our own manipulation, our freedom will be in danger. Marshall McLuhan, in Understanding Media in the Extensions of Man, refers that the brain is the place of interpretation of our context. So if our context relies on the interaction between the brain and the electronic environment, some alterations on our consciousness will be implemented. And if our consciousness is altered, our entire reality will change. The way we act will be different in the future, and the way we interact and communicate with each other will have a severe base on our digital behavior. According to Warren Nietzsche, neuropower relies on the constant adaptation of the neural network, neuroplasticity. This means that our brain, in the right conditions, will readapt to this new reality. Due to the abundant use of the internet and social media platforms, we now live in a shared experience reality. The biggest part of knowledge retention no longer comes from the first-hand experience, but in fact, we are living in the experience by the eyes of the others. Regarding the social media platforms, in the appearance of, for example, Instagram stories, we now are able to experience several moments virtually by the eyes and emotions of the other. This will not only affect the way we perceive the world, but also the way we communicate it. We will no longer use the high noun regarding several experiences, and the sense of individuality will become more and more affected with the rise of the virtual shared experiences. This might raise several problems. Not only because now our individuality will be vulnerable and therefore more susceptible to emotional manipulations, which might come in the shape of political forms that are able to persuade us in an easier way, but also because we will be getting further from the physical world and its connection with nature and more in tune with the digital thinking. The biggest crisis that can happen is if we become so reliant and addicted on the digital, mainly on the internet, that we become inefficient in the process of alone thinking, due to the constant support of the digital. If eventually some energy crisis appear, it will develop a huge political, financial, and mainly identity crisis. Ram Collins, regarding the smart cities, says that the European values of freedom, equality, and fraternity were substituted in the 21st century by comfort, security, and sustainability. The substitution of freedom for comfort might transform us into puppets without a sense of individuality. As Marshall McLuhan says, we shape our tools, and afterwards, our tools shape us.
The idea of a network of brains directly communicating via brain-to-brain interfaces may sound like science fiction, but is actually not. PBIs allow for technology-mediated direct communication between two brains without involving the peripheral nervous system. They consist of two components: a brain-computer interface, BCI, that detects neural signals from one brain and translates them to computer commands, and the computer-brain interface, CBI, that delivers computer commands to another brain. Over the last decade, passive brain-computer interfaces, algorithms, and biosignal acquisition technologies have experienced a significant growth that has allowed the real-time analysis of biosignals, with the aim to quantify relevant insights such as mental and emotional states. Scientists are still trying to draw a mark on where we are to date and the future challenges, in order to make BCIs closer to being integrated into daily life applications. In the future, perhaps the carbon-based mind will connect directly with the silicon-based artificial intelligence, merging man and machine, allowing to control other robots from an humanoid to a nanorobot. The way we interact and control today's devices will drastically change. BCIs will bring a whole new meaning to smart environments and the Internet of Things, while helping us merge with software and keep pace with advancements in artificial intelligence. Today, you have to send out commands from your phone or some kind of remote control to your smart devices. Sometime in the future, turning on your computer or calling a number will be as simple as thinking of it. Such technologies will rise from combining the real-time access of information on the Internet with artificial reality and artificial intelligence. Humans will be able to experience truly immersive environments and create artificial realities where it is impossible to tell the difference from the real world, using true-to-life virtual reality and CGI with added haptic feedback systems incorporated. Scientists and engineers predict we will be able to greatly extend our existing senses or maybe even add new ones to the equation. Will it be possible to transfer knowledge, memories, or even complete experience with more complex cognitive constructs? Perhaps at some point in the near future, technology will allow us to interact with ourselves and the world in ways we cannot even imagine today. Optimists think we might be able to use both bidirectional BCI and BBI to transmit actual thoughts from person to person. These advancements will have a disruptive and relevant impact on human communication. With this technology, we will be able to transmit and receive not just thoughts, but feelings and the brain state involving, making communication more effective. This way, humans could communicate across the world by directly sharing their thoughts with others, thereby making language barriers a thing of the past. This sounds challenging, however, our understanding of the brain will only going to increase from here on out, and the technology is only going to get more sophisticated. Even though the current state of BBI technology is far from allowing complex brain-to-brain communication, it is reasonable to take ethical aspects into consideration early on, as this supports the development of technology beneficial to individuals and society. Ethical and social implications of this technology should be taken in consideration. Will these systems be used to influence or even modify our neural activities or interests, opinions, and emotions without ever us noticing it? Knowing that much of the action already takes place on an online stage, future will blur even more the line between actual and virtual reality.